Everybody's here, like he's not here tonight, she's enjoying some soccer, I'm guessing in the rain. Because she's in Florence, so I'm guessing that's not gonna be a warning for her. So let's say I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. Have a motion to approve the agenda.
And move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Ken is gonna remind me of that for a good whole year. Okay, whatever, everyone is in favor, all right, and then have a motion for the consent agenda.
And move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Okay. There we go, everyone's in favor, awesome. Special presentation, still no student representative, do we know that it's gonna be? We found out? Do we know who the student representative is gonna be eventually, perhaps?
He was here, maybe in September, no, August.
There was a student,
Okay,
It's Pam, it is the ASB president, and it's not who's supposed to be.
Yeah.
yeah, all right, well, hopefully we'll hear from them eventually.
I don't think he knows that he's supposed to be coming. I don't think he knows, like, he's
Well,
aware
maybe
of
we
that.
can reach out to them anyway.
Yeah.
So, let them know that they are more than welcome and we'd love to hear from them. And now we have a presentation. And we do want to push it after, let Mike, do we have to change the?
Yeah. I'm moving to the back.
I'm sorry, I couldn't figure it out. We're gonna remove Tim from the agenda and change move Mike to the superintendent report.
I made the motion, Tim seconded to, I think we should just move the special.
Presentation to after.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so, had a very active month, in September. You can see my activities there listed on the back. But several of our projects have been completed off of the list, the bond list. So that's moving forward. I'm glad to see that that's where we're at this point. With the list that we had, it was pretty ambitious, and we covered that list and then some. On my highlights, though, in looking at some things that have, some results that have been released lately from ODE around student achievement. So with the first statewide release, they acknowledged that the state hasn't done as well as they wanted, that we haven't made progress with the achievement gap that's been created from the COVID epidemic. However, some districts have made improvements, and when we look into the results, we see that we're Creswell, we remain in the top 25–30% of the state as far as academic achievement as a district, and at the top of Blaine County. So we're holding on pretty good. We're making progress to cover that gap, that COVID gap, and we're moving beyond and into the gap that we were in 18–19. So that, I know it's just one of the indicators of success, and there are several of them for our students, but we want to see positive results in all indicators of success for our kids, and that one comes up, and we get mentioned and called out, and the register guard all saw that, but it's good to know that they're coming around for us, for our kids. The track was completed on Sunday. The ribbon cutting ceremony was phenomenal. Lots of fun. Tip my hat to Bethany for that, for organizing that and coordinating the entire event. Boy, I'll tell you, I don't think anybody was off schedule. She had it all lined up and she was on it. But that was a lot of fun. I like those celebrations, and we have a couple more coming in the future, so just like that. Something else that I wanted to bring your attention that is a highlight for me, for us as a district and our kids, is that Senate Bill 3 was passed, established last year. And with that is the new graduation requirements of 0.5 personal finance and 0.5 post-secondary preparation for college and careers. And we've had personal finance. This is starting our third year of personal finance requirement at our high school. We piloted it during right as we came out of COVID, and then we made it a requirement the following year. The state in 27-28, it will be an official requirement for graduation with no waivers. And we're that far ahead of the state in graduation requirement. Mary's been working at the high school over there on college and career pathway stuff, and we'll have that all lined up, and we'll have that requirement in well ahead of time as well.
Something to note on that, if it's okay, if I say something, they, ODE actually wants to highlight what they're doing at the high school in their career connected learning, forums that they're doing. So they asked because they looked at their data and how well they're doing, and they're hitting all of the marks they need to be hitting to be compliant, just so you guys know.
So good to have our kids, our staff in that position, our kids and our diplomas out there around the curve, you know, ahead of time. So, thank you, Mary, for all the work you're doing over to get that in order. Personal finance was introduced to us by Lacey a few years ago, and we picked it up. Kids loved it. Parents just thought it was the neatest thing to bring that back, the best thing for kids to bring that back into the program. No problem having that as a requirement for next year. So the following year after that. So there we are. Those are my highlights. Any questions on anything from anyone on the bond projects that we've completed or where we're at?
Can I ask a question about the ODE, like the personal finance class? If I'm not mistaken, I likely am. It's the seniors are taking it now, but can it be offered to the students earlier in their academic career so that they've got more time to develop these skills? Like, you know, when they turn 15, 16, when they go into the workforce, it'd be great, like they're bringing their own money in to have those skills ahead of time.
We've talked about it. As you know, when freshmen come in, they're loaded up on credits. That's the freshman year, sophomore year. They're still, I mean, it starts to loosen up a little bit in the junior year for some of them, but not all of them. But when it comes in as a now end of the diploma, officially at what grade level they want you to introduce it, I have no idea. They didn't mention that there's more details to come out about that. The earlier, the better. I hear you, and we've had that discussion. It's just how it gets pushed around with the other things that are required with health and PE and, you know, how it fits in. But as freshmen, sophomores, they're pretty loaded up on credits, the required credits.
I think a lot of schools are like in a position where they're adding it now, so they're having to kind of backload it. It's like they need the seniors to get it, and it takes a couple years. And then typically it will open up after 3 or 4 years, 5 years of offering it. Then if the district wants to, or the school wants to, they can typically add, you know, underclassmen in, but they have to get those kids that are coming through that are getting ready to be pushed out the door. That's what I think most schools are doing right now, from what I can see.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't take any off. They just added. So we'll figure it out, but we want to do what's best for kids, and I think it is best for them to get it earlier. We just don't know how much earlier we can get it in their experience. Any other questions on my report? Okay.
All right, so do we have any public comment tonight?
No.
What time do you think that?
She said, 6:20, I would safely 6:30, but,
So should we just move into new business and then have her do it after the business?
Yeah.
You think- Okay, can I get a motion to amend the agenda again?
I move to, on the agenda to move special presentations under new business.
Perfect, all right. Sorry about that. All right, now we have to approve the resolution.
It's not a self-evaluation.
Oh, no.
It's the.
Oh, it's this year. I'm sorry.
It's put on it,
The rest.
for some reason, I felt it, but.
Did you vote on the agenda change?
Oh, all in favor, sorry, I missed that part, thank you, Tim. It's just gonna take one, each of you are gonna have to tell me to remind me of that for a while. So, all in favor, good, all right. We'll do that. All right, now new business, let's do that. So. You wanna,
I move to approve the documents under approved superintendent goals and evaluation. rubric. Then let's go.
that's awesome, yeah,
Second.
okay, all in favor? Oh wait, is it discussion then all in favor? Did I-
Yeah, discussion
Okay,
first.
yeah. Did anybody have any discussion regarding that? All right, I'm gonna get it, I promise.
Good subject.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Mary's my cheerleader down there. Figure it out.
You're doing fine.
Thank you. We take a whole month off and forget every time. Okay, all right, so then, all right, and
So we
then.
vote. Yeah, oh, well, that one we did, yeah.
Well, you sort of called it off and said, are we gonna? do
Oh,
a
okay,
discussion?
we did, I did call it off. Okay, now let's vote again. This will be a fun one to watch back on YouTube if you all want to. Okay, all right, thank you. All right. Next action item.
So I move to approve the board superintendent working agreement for 2023.
I second.
Any discussion?
I do wanna.
Okay, sorry, I thought I did that in order then.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily have things I wanna change, but I do think there's something to be said about determining if these should still be the things we want on the working agreement. We set these as a board, what, 2 years ago?
Other than.
Yeah, after I left, so it
Yeah.
would have been 2019
Yeah, so 4 years
in the fall.
I'm not against any of them, I just think there's new people, and I would like to give them an opportunity to see if there's other things that we should add or remove. If you guys have read through them, then. Or we could put it on the next board agenda, right, like if people wanna come back with a discussion, I'm just saying, I know these and I'm comfortable with them, but.
Yeah.
Everyone should have an opportunity to add or change things if they.
I think that I would advise that you go through and read each of the policies, the board policies, because everything that follows in this agreement, operational agreement, is in alignment or, working with those policies. It's a pretty standard working agreement. There's nothing that's so unique about it that it's out there, but all the policies have been updated as far as how things work with boards and superintendent. So the policies are all accurate. If you read through those, you'll get a lot of information that's restated throughout this whole agreement.
And if you aren't aware, the red, BBA, those are associated with the policy on our website. Our board policy.
Right, so if you go to board, departments, and then, school board, and then policies, and then where it says, link the policy, and you just put in that BBFA or whatever the letter is there that's indicating the policy, it will come to you. It will link to it.
And anyone who wants to learn more about policies, please feel free to email Mike and join the policy committee.
We do need policy people.
I was gonna email you and tell you that I will do it again. 'Cause it's
I think we
riveting.
totally talked about this because Candace needed to do a plug for the policy committee. She was working her way in.
I will do it again. It was riveting.
Thank you for using that word.
That was a good time.
Riveting.
Good plug in there.
I know, I feel like we were talking about it the whole way. No. So I think that, as far as I feel like I'm more Candace's as far as like, I understand this document and I'm okay with it, but if you guys, read it and you feel like there's anything that you wanna add, like, you want it to come onto the agenda next meeting, if you wanna just email me or Candace or Mike and let us know if there's something that you're like, oh, I think this should be different, and then we can bring it back onto the agenda again, but. So are we gonna go ahead and approve it? Or are we gonna leave it as a?
Would you guys like to talk about it next month? I don't wanna rush you.
No, is this something that is approved every year? That I'm okay with it. I think I saw it last year. I'm
Okay.
okay with it.
Okay.
So I don't think there's anything that I need to look over, but it's there.
Yeah, I don't either. I actually read a bunch of these when I met with Mike after I was elected.
Okay, perfect. All right, so then all in favor? So, all right, there we go. All right, next item. Is. So appoint board members that was the bond ballot and building conference.
So I included the memo in here, right?
No.
Right, good. Okay, well, I got a memo from OSBA, and they invited us or requested that we come and present at the conference, the Bonds, Ballots, and Buildings Conference in February. That's a Friday, February 16th at the Salem Convention Center. Here's the memo from them. The Learn from the Winners panel is part of the opening session that starts at 8:15 a.m. We feature 3 districts that have had recent success in passing a bond or local option levy. Each district will have about 15 minutes to talk about their bond success. Some choose to include a short slide presentations, others do not. You're welcome to include a board member as part of the presentation if you choose. You have a great story to tell about how you were able to rally your pro voters and win big despite negative polling. We really appreciate you sharing your strategies, insights, and tips with other districts that are contemplating a bond election. This was to me for us. And so they would like us to come and share our strategies and how we rebounded from a low polling. And so myself and one board member represented the board that would be able to speak to those strategies to that group there in that presentation. We would sit on a panel. I'll do the we can do the presentation, but I'll come up with a presentation, but the strategies on how we rallied up the campaign past the bond is what they would want to know about, hear about.
So like the only concern I have about like picking somebody night is that Lacey's not here and I don't know if she's gonna be interested in doing it. Is there somebody now that would really like to jump up and down and go sit on the board with Mike? I'm not jumping. I mean, if there's somebody.
It's not like.
It's not Canada. Yeah.
You guys were all.
There. I kind of feel like, do we wanna like see if we push it off and get like people interested? And Mary, are you interested in doing it? Sarah and I discussed it a little bit. I feel like she's looking at me like, don't talk to me about that.
Oh, I'm not sure that I'm gonna be available. That would be my concern. I'll be traveling again in January and February.
Okay.
And
Right.
I don't know that I would be able to go, but I would totally go do it if I did.
Do we table it for next
Did
meeting?
is it the morning of the 16th?
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
It's Friday.
Oh, that's next year, not this year.
Happy Friday, early morning.
I'm gonna be in London, Washington. If I could do it virtually, I could help, but if you needed somebody.
I am committed to going and I will. But I would prefer that, Lacey. I will if I have to. Look at that. Big one.
Okay, well,
Do you wanna wait and see if Lacey, if she's
as
interested?
we're a little far out, so
Yeah.
we'll give you at least some time to think
We
about it, to figure
Yeah,
out.
and just table it and then we can move to, we can wait, with somebody next month. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah, and if there is a chance that I might be available, I
Okay.
can't commit to it right now. That's, but if
Okay.
Lacey doesn't want to.
Okay, then number one,
Yeah,
Mary,
yeah,
we'll be back.
yeah. So we just need to commit to doing the presentation.
Yeah,
And then you
yeah.
will have one of 3 board members.
Yeah.
It's an honor to be there.
Yeah, no,
to
and
present.
I like the conference, Tim went and Mike, you went to that conference, and even though we passed our on, it was a good conference to go to. It's kind of nice to listen to all of the people's stories that have had success and the ones that haven't, to kind of figure out what they've done and they get to share what we do.
Well, we're such an animated group, it would be totally
I
entertaining.
know, we're just like,
Yeah.
Nothing else.
nothing else. All right, so then we'll just table that, till next time. Okay. Our special guest is here, so do we have to have them? Did she?
No, I think we.
First,
I think.
Okay.
okay. Okay, we're just gonna go for it, and we have a special presentation, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Amy, would
Can
you
I
like?
introduce?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
So this is Mindy Lockard. Mindy is here, actually from the Portland area. I shared with them, did some technical difficulties with some rec and transportation, but all that. But anyway, she's here. We're glad to have her here. Mindy is supporting K-12, our leadership program. And so you may have seen some of the parent squares or communications from our administrators coming out. That work started this last month, month of September. This work ranges from a variety of leadership skills, which may include advocacy, identity, talking about strengths and how we present ourselves with our employers, but also in the classroom with our families, et cetera. And so she'll talk a little bit about the scope. I know I'm reading many attributes and skills out, but she's been a wonderful addition with the district. She works with multiple schools in Lane County as well as the Portland area and supporting students and our educators in this field. And also privately, I may work with you about it too. Yes, so, yeah. Okay, thank you. Well, it's an honor to be here. I'm just gonna bring some things so that you can see what we're working on with the students. So just to tell you a little bit about me, I have been doing this work for over 20 years. I started with children, essentially. I'm trained and certified in etiquette, but I don't usually lead with that because people get really uncomfortable around me. But I'm trained and certified through the Protocol School of Washington, which is the Harvard of the etiquette industry. And really the idea is that it's about showing up and feeling like we belong in spaces. It's about feeling like we know what to do so that we can kind of get over ourselves and hear other people's stories and know their names. And so I started doing this 20 years ago, working with children. And then parents were seeing such a change in their children's confidence and their social skills that they asked me to start working with their companies. And so for many years, I was traveling globally, working with companies and being a brand ambassador. And, but my heart really was in being back with students. I felt called to create a program. So I created the Leadership Academy 6 years ago in the Portland area. I started with 24 students at Lake Oswego Junior High. And currently I have 175 families in the program from Portland to Eugene. And I just kind of maxed out, and my heart has been working with schools and kind of equipping students in a different way, with little teeny micro habits. And so 3 years ago, adapted the program for schools and have just been kind of slowly rolling it out. And working with Creswell has been such a gift. I came and did an assembly a few weeks ago, and it was amazing. I went home and told my husband, that little girl in the hall was like, I just want to hug you. It's so cute. But I wanted to share with you what we're doing today. I'm going to run you guys actually through an exercise that we've been doing. So, as Amy said, this is all grounded in personal identity and how students, the idea that we were all created uniquely, that we all have different characteristics. And so really starting at the, our rollout for 1-2 is, we're doing it really slow. I'm in communication with the team every single week. We have a weekly meeting just to kind of see which skills are landing where, but really starting at
the second grade level, just starting to have them explore thinking about who they are, what characteristics they have. And then this leads into junior high, where and 6th and 7th graders are doing what I call the leadership program. 8th graders are doing a high school prep program, which is preparing them for high school before they land. Really helping them thinking about self-advocacy, how they communicate with their teachers, organizational and just micro habits around that communication and how they're mapping out their weekly work. And then in high school, we really start to think about what they're going to do beyond for college and career, kind of wherever they land in that space. So freshman year is about just more kind of back into kind of who they are and what they want to be and how they want to represent themselves in the community. Sophomore year, we look at career and kind of how they connect with the adults in their lives to learn more about career. And then obviously junior and senior, we're really preparing them for kind of wherever they land beyond their senior year. But really, none of this isn't like rocket science, but the idea is that it really takes years and years of these micro habits for them to really leave in that high school space totally comfortable and ready to go. So I'm going to take you guys through the first exercise that I did with the students. So I'll kind of show you what the workbooks are. So K through 5, well actually 2nd through 5 are doing what we call our power skill passports. So every week they have one skill that we're working on. And that is done through a worksheet and then a 2-minute video that the teachers play or the team plays. And then so the first thing I'm going to have you do is on this list of characteristics, I would like for you to underline 15 of the characteristics that you feel like best represent not just who you are today, but how you would like to be seen. So go ahead and underline 15 characteristics of kind of your personal identity, how you want other people to experience you, the characteristics you want to be known for. If there's not a word on there, you can find it. It's helpful, but I'm sure it's that word. Okay, so when you're done with your 15, I'm going to have you circle 10 of the 15 words that you chose. So we're just going to narrow down from 15 to 10.
Second guessing the circle.
This isn't forever and ever, this is not in stone. There can be adjustment, okay, and then last but not least, I'm going to have you star 5 of the 10 words that you chose.
All set.
And then in that first column, I'm gonna have you write each of those words down. And this is what we call with the students our Power 5. So these are the 5 words. And like one of the things that I do really well, and one of the reasons why I created this curriculum is I'm really good at helping people get a job. And find jobs that are good fits for them. And the first thing that I do when I work with a college junior who's wanting to go out and kind of navigate the world is I walk them through this exercise, because these words are what their resumes are built on. These are the words that they go back to in an interview. They're also guiding principles for really figuring out what is important to me. And especially as we're working with junior hires and this kind of pack mentality and preparing them for high school, every season of this program is designed to be a roadmap for the future, getting them thinking outside of their space. So when they do land their freshman year, they're ready to kind of start making choices designed for what's important to them and not necessarily just picking classes because that's where all their friends are showing up. So, I'm not gonna make you go through all of this, but this is the same exercise that freshmen through seniors are going to be doing next week. And it's the exercise that our elementary school kids did and our junior high hires did about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So the junior high started, this is the planner that the junior hires are using. So it is we started them in slowly, so we took out some of the working systems, but the idea is that they work backwards essentially. So they learn to map out their weeks instead of just working like with a Google mindset in terms of deadlines. We start to work on how they can map out what they have coming up, what their proactive steps are, who they need to talk to. So I went through and trained all of the middle school teachers in this, but this is the planners that they're using. There's a QR code down here that families can also scan if they want to see what the video is or what we're talking about that week. So, but that's that exercise is the first thing in their planner too. So you guys are all on the same page, literally. So the passport here is very similar, and this like I said, this is designed to build on year after year in terms of repeating content and making it appropriate for kind of what they're looking through in their lens. So for example, this week we are working on facial expressions with the elementary school. And next week we're going to be working on facial expressions with the junior hires. And when we talk about middle school facial expressions, there's a whole different range than when you talk about a second or third grader's facial expression, but it all matters. And so getting them thinking about how other people experience them and how they're showing up and developing relationships, specifically with like their teachers and administrators, not just their peers, is what our focus is for the program. And then, and the feedback has been that they really love it, but then when they're done with their weekly, then they get a stamp in their passport for kind of their completion of what they've done. So are there any questions? I don't know if you want to share anything just from the rollout.
Well, I've heard kids enjoyed, in fact, when Lindy came, they kind of thought of her as this famous person who just made her videos. So it was very nice to see her, like, but I think for our counselor and her assistant who have been really the spearheading this and rolling it out at the elementary level, they're seeing a lot of positives with it because it's giving them some content to be able to teach more proactively versus the reactive. And you know, having to do a lot of problem solving with kids. They're learning the skills, they're all learning the language. And I put the videos out to my whole staff to review, and they're short videos, and we kind of all joke around in the staff room about how we're learning stuff too. Which has been great, so it's been really positive so far.
Yeah, one of my favorite stories that Gina told me last week is when we talk about eye contact. There's two kind of ranges that we talked about. We talk about eye contact when talking, when someone else is talking or you're talking. And we talk about the zones that you can look on someone else's face to make them feel comfortable. And then we talk about where we look when we're thinking, because there's different directions that we look in our nonverbal body language. Communicates if we look down, it's thought that we're unsure or we don't know. If we look up, it's thought to be more thoughtful. So just kind of teaching them these things. And some of the questions we asked them were, when is eye contact challenging for you? And one of my favorite things that Gina said was kids were saying, when I get in trouble, which is so true, right? So, and these are just these incredible conversations that they're having at this level. And so they're really taking this and building it out, which is really fun for me too. So, any questions? Thoughts? Anything else?
No, I like it, but, so they're making eye contact when they're in trouble, or are you teaching them to like look them straight in the eyes and give it to me?
So we're teaching them when eye contact becomes uncomfortable, you look here in the safe zone, which is the bridge of the nose, which gives illusion that you're making eye contact, but you can avoid the awkward.
I was one of those kids.
Safe zone, yeah. So the idea is no matter, so studies show that, you know, if we have a pie, and we talk about this in the videos too, if you have a pie of 100%, studies show that 7% of how someone experiences you is the words that you use. 38% is your tone, and 55% is your nonverbal body language. And, you know, when I talk to my older students, I say, okay, so when you're going into an interview, what's the first thing you worry about? Well, what am I gonna say? And so kind of backing it up, and we're gonna be doing all nonverbal until December, or through October, and then November, we're going to be talking about dining etiquette and kind of how they're showing up at the holidays and how they're engaging with the adults in their lives. December, we're going to talk about conversations, and so when they're at the table, how they can be learning from their family members. And then January and February, this is at the elementary level, it's just kind of on digital awareness, kind of layering it in. And then kind of how they're showing up in their communities, and then thinking about summer and kind of how they're, and their friendship spaces, so.
You want to share about our 3
Oh, yeah.
family?
Yes, yeah, I'm really excited. This is gonna be really fun. So at the Leadership Academy in Portland, so we have what I call family nights, where based on the content that we're talking about, we bring families in and the students get to teach them. And so Amy and I were kind of brainstorming, and I'm so excited. We're going to do that here. And so our first family night is essentially going to be a family networking night, where the students are going to be using all of their skills that they're learning to work a room, to enter and exit conversations, to ask what we call open-ended. So you can ask an open-ended question, which is a tell me about question, or you can use a closed question, which is who, what, when, where, why, how, did, and do. And that only requires someone to give you a one-word answer, and then you're like scrambling to think of something else to say. So they're going to be exercising and practicing those. And then we're going to have a digital panel with families. And actually I'm doing that this weekend for my Portland families, and I'm really excited. I always have a pediatrician come on to just talk about kind of the brain and digital. We have a school resource officer come on that just talks about kind of safety and communication. I have a duck football player coming on to just kind of talk about his experience. And to be honest, that always gets kids excited. And I have, and I always have a digital securities expert come on, because the goal with digital for students is to understand that the cloud is not this magic space in place, that the cloud is actually a warehouse somewhere in the middle of Oregon that stores all of their data, every search history, every like, every comment. And when they go to get a job, companies search and scour for every single thing that they've done. It's not fair, but that's the reality. And so often it isn't until they're in college when they start to understand the power of that, or even applications into college. So the digital securities expert is not there to scare, but just to help parents understand how important it is for them to be a part of conversations, especially like YouTube. In fact, I just had this conversation before I was teaching, before I got in the car to drive down, talking to a bunch of 7th grade parents about just where their kids are on YouTube. YouTube is kind of a little bit of a dark horse in terms of people don't give digital or social media, but they let them watch YouTube, which essentially is a social media platform. So that's all. So we're gonna have a digital panel that families can come on. And then we're going to have our celebration etiquette dinner at the end of the year for families. And this isn't about creating a society of snobs, but it's about allowing people to feel like they can go to any sort of situation and show up and know what to do. So we're gonna have so much fun.
Yeah, and the digital night, we're gonna make it via Zoom, so that anyone can, attend, and we'll record it so that it can be made available for other people who missed it.
Yeah, it's really important. And we go back to their Power 5 with it, when they're using, especially as we're working with our middle school and high school students, really getting them thinking about what their digital isn't bad, and social media will become their non-paper resume. And I always ask my students, would you put what you did on Saturday night on your resume? They're like, no, then don't put it on the internet, because it basically will become part of your resume. And they don't always connect that. And so, but you can post about your Power 5. You can post about the things that are important to you and your values, and the things that are of interest to you. Those are the things that they can post on, so that when someone looks them up, it all tells the same story. But we're not going to be talking about first and second graders about that. So. We're just layering, so when they do get to junior high, we don't have to start from the beginning to get them up to speed on a lot of this. So yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Yes, thank you.
much. Great.
Here, and you guys can look through this. Do you just want to collect these and I can get them, or I can take them if you?
Yeah, go for it.
Go ahead, take them. Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm here right now. Mine is puppy and rolling.
Oh, yeah.
I think you guys have the same value.
Well, I looked at the planner. I was like, these are the planners. I had no idea it was from Sperm. I didn't know I don't know. I was like, oh, they're making us do these planners. That's great. So we go through, I'm like, what do you have to do this week? I have no idea.
The best part about the planner is it's just like that backwards planning, because, I also, that was a big light bulb moment when we met with Mindy, because I think about my calendar and my planner is really just a series of events that I do, and not really thinking about all the steps to get there. And so even as a mom, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, my kids need this. They need to know how to plan ahead and not have me do it for them. So
Yeah, no, that's great.
well, I'd love to know how it's going for them.
I mean, it was like, these are the things I have to get done this week.
Oh, so that makes me so happy.
Yeah, so he's an 8th grader and he's enjoying it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, and what I've been telling the teachers at the middle school is we have to make this fun and rewarding for them. And so even if they just write an after school activity in that, and that's all they do, that's totally fine. It's when we give this mentality that it has to be 100%, it has to look really good, you have to do it. Then if they're not doing it well, then they back off, and that's not how we teach resilience. So that makes me so happy.
Well, thank you for teaching them these skills.
So say, how many schools are you doing this with, Mindy?
I have it in 4 right now. Yeah, so kind of a variety of different, and then I'm in actually 7 different schools in the Portland area, also teaching this on a weekly basis. So yeah. Thank you. So fun.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on this.
I heard she was excited to make the drive. She chose that over Zoom.
I'm an in-person person.
I appreciate it. Exciting, exciting to hear about. Keep going. Thank you again.
Thank you for being
Well,
here.
that's
Fun.
She's got great energy.
She
She's
does.
got
I
so
just sat
much
and
fun with
listened to her
students.
all the whole meeting.
Yeah, she said, I mean, she didn't say some of the things that she said that I like using as a mom with my own kids, like. Just every time I listen to her, I like learn new things.
Yeah.
And I was like, how do I get to be part of these things? These are great skills for them to learn.
I know, I'm a little jealous.
The social networking, she didn't really talk about this part, but part of the social networking, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, she was explaining how she's gonna be talking to the kids, like, when you're standing and talking in groups, that you don't stand in a circle, you wanna leave a spot for somebody to join.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness, they do that for middle school, so there's all these like,
Yeah.
groups. So they'll be practicing those, and then, the family etiquette night is something I'm very excited about. I've done an etiquette classroom and being really good at it. Yeah, I mean, there's works and stuff I didn't even know existed, so.
If you look at FBLA and HOSA, like at the Leadership Academy, and it's so fun to watch the high school students be so uncomfortable, and then by the end of the night, be so comfortable, They're like, I know where my napkin goes, no forms go, like, that is a great skill set for them to have.
So I know when we started talking about this, when the principal brought it up, they were really excited because we were also working on the characteristics of a CSD graduate. And they're talking about how the learning and all the skills were aligning to these attributes of a CSD graduate. So, it really filled a void or the gap that we had in the vision that we were looking for something for, and this is how they're going after it.
So on the nights that you do like the etiquette night, is there like particular groups that you're gonna target? Like is there like?
Well, for the etiquette, night, it'll be, parents will have to sign up, because there'll be limited space, and we won't be serving food, I think she said pizza. But, it'll be kid-friendly food, and then, the social networking night, there won't be a cap on who can come. But she'll transform our gym with tables and, she explained it earlier, but it'll be kind of like cocktail hour type, where everyone's kind of mingling. And then she'll pull the kids out, and she will pair the younger kids with the older kids, so that the older kids are probably doing the bulk of the work for the socializing, but the littler kids are kind of there to model or to be paying attention to their model. So, yeah. And there's no, it's for everybody.
Yeah, that's great, that's great, and that's what I was thinking, that at least it hits all kids, that, FBLA and HOSA addresses certain kids that choose to do that, but this is not, it's reaching outside that circle.
Well,
So that's
last year we changed our schedule at elementary school, that our counselor goes into every classroom every week. And she was using, some curriculum aligned with our second sets, but she needed more content, so it's really worked out perfectly. And then when we were going through this whole process, that Mike was speaking about, in the back of my mind, continue to think, like, what can the elementary school do? Because a lot of the conversation is aimed towards secondary. And I just was thinking about like these life skills, and that's kind of where it started.
Yeah, sounds amazing.
So that's what we're doing at the elementary, and they're doing planners at the middle school. Do they do weekly content at the middle school through the teachers?
Are the high school, are they doing something at the high school?
Well, middle school's planners, and then I'm guessing some type of curriculum, and then our high school.
I bet I'm
Do you want to speak to the high school? I know the planners are only at the middle school, and we're gonna build it out from there. So like potentially next year, our fifth graders will do the planners. It was a little overwhelming to everybody, so.
Yeah.
The middle was gun hosed, we let them do it, and then potentially like the eighth graders will be the freshmen doing it in the high school next year.
Gotcha.
And then grow from there, just because it's, it's gotta start small sometimes.
And I guess I would say similar bookends of our buildings. So we have high school doing a similar model where they're taking the themes and working that into their win time, and promoting it in that sense. But again, it's not as in-depth as what they're doing at middle school, but middle school is using planners already. So this was they just subbed that out. They're using Mindy's and partnering that with her curriculum. So it was a nice partnership there. So
Great, thank you.
Okay, Division 22 standard, so, We are a local governing body, but we do have governance at the state level and what we do, what they expect us to do in every school district. And the Division 22 standards are those things that they expect every district to do by law. And so every year, superintendents are required to provide a report to the board on the Division 22 standards by November 1. And we need to inform our board of our compliance status. I'm reporting to you that we are in compliance with the standards. November 15th is the deadline for me to submit the report to ODE. By the end of the school year, we will have completed the adoption process for math. This is the year for math adoption to be in compliance. So we will be in compliance with math. Simultaneously, we're doing review of science for science adoption through next year. So this year, the science teams are coming together. Amy's working with our science teachers, and they're starting to review the curriculum standards and the curriculum that will be available to us to look at that are state adopted and others if we find those that we're interested in. And so then by the end of next year, we'll be prepared for science adoption and we'll be in compliance with all subject areas, core subject areas. We're actually in the area of PE where we exceed the standards of the state because they reversed a mandatory PE requirement for all students every day and kind of backed off of that a little bit this year with the legislature so that they could, because staffing is becoming a very difficult thing in schools right now. They're cutting in districts to adjust to the enrollment drops, decline. And so the PE requirement has been pulled back, but we're still moving on with it. We're doing really well with all of our subject matters, but we are in compliance with the 22 standards. And you probably looked at those, and they're not only 22 standards
We talked about
that
last
they
year
list
too.
there. They ought to be the Division 80 standards. There's a lot of those standards. But, you know, we, as a district, you know, we keep up with what we need to be doing for our kids and what they need to be ready for the future. And the compliance standards are those.
For the items that say waived for 2022, 2023, that's the state waived those standards for this year?
But a lot of districts struggle with staying in compliance, especially with curriculum. And, you know, it takes a lot to complete a curriculum adoption. It's very expensive. And we will be set for 10 years into the future within the next 2 years on all curriculum compliance.
Math, curriculum, okay. So we're gonna finish math this year. We really just have the high school left, right? Okay. And then we did science curriculum.
We did do science.
A few years ago, although it felt a little weird, I'm not gonna lie.
So it was interesting.
But I'm gonna just say,
That was probably my second board meeting. after
Yeah.
that.
yeah, and so I'm assuming that we're revisiting that to do a more formal process than that particular process. being
Yeah, and was that to get up to speed when Patrick presented?
Yeah,
Just
that was
to
Yes.
Division 22.
Mhm.
So this is the science adoption year that we're rolling into, and so each of our buildings will be reviewing. We've been meeting with, Elaine SD, individual who's gonna be supporting our team with this. We have some pretty great things in place, because as many of you know, that was recently talked about in the last 5 years, so I can't tell you at this point where we're gonna go with that, but there is the possibility that some of that will roll over with what we're already using, so. we may be
Although it
looking
wasn't
at-
a formal plan, right? A lot of it was open source.
They are, in high school, there's a lot, we're learning there is a lot of open source that mirrors what you can either invest in the curriculum, the textbooks and such, or you can choose to use open source, which does have and offer the same materials. So that's been interesting to learn more about.
Yeah, I think, I'll be honest, I would be interested to learn if there's anything behind what's more effective for kids learning. I'm just gonna leave
That's
that
a good
there.
question. I like that. I can bring that forward.
So we're going into the adoption cycle, or we're in the adoption cycle for that. This is the formal cycle of the ODE. And, to be in compliance, this is when you make your adoption to address or align to the standards, the state standards. We were out of compliance in science, and it was not the adoption cycle with the state, so we did an independent adoption to get patterns in to align to the standards. And that's why it didn't feel as formal, because we, really needed to we needed to get something in there, to align to the standards, so that's what we did.
Fair, it seems like it also gives us an opportunity to measure if it's been a successful curriculum for us.
Yeah.
Before we re-adopt it.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested to see that.
Yeah.
How long has it been?
About 5 years.
Since we did the independent adoption, but they hadn't adopted a science curriculum.
It was my question.
So
My
you have
first one were 44, right?
There hasn't been any formal adoption of curriculum in 15 years.
Oh,
Science was out of whack. I mean, we don't have adopted science curriculum in this district other than the patterns that we went through the independent adoption. So this is really our check in
Science, we have adopted science.
Yeah.
to be in compliance.
So will you guys present for math this year?
Yeah.
Kind of
Process.
same process, okay.
Correct, so we'll start that, we're actually meeting tomorrow to kind of roll this plan out, but we typically start in the fall, convening the teams together, we partner with CSD. They do some collaboration and training with all of Lane County, so they invite districts to join in, and it's nice because they can bring in the vendors. They partner with ODE in terms of helping us navigate the standards, so it's a really nice Q&A opportunity for our teams. Principals are supporting that process, so we get those secondaries a little easier because they have the subject area that they're teaching, but at the elementary school, we pull out individuals from each grade level, and we meet consistently up through May, so I think tentatively we have this scheduled for May to present the options to the board. That's after we have the community review, which you are all welcome to be part of those presentations and come flip through curriculum or look at the options that the team is going to be bringing forward, and then we bring it forward to you for approval.
Should you, and then I'll ask another question. but I don't
No,
think
go
that
ahead,
you will.
I just that word.
So knowing the high school and the new state standards of 2+1, is that what they're calling it?
Yeah, for math.
Yeah, okay, sorry about that. Forget.
Yeah.
I know last year we were kind of in well, we want to see what this means, what does 2+1 mean? And has the state, I have not asked my own husband about this, but has the state put more parameters around what 2+1 means for, I mean, I know we have to adopt it, that's a different conversation, but.
What do you mean if they put more parameters?
Well,
I think it's about the
Yeah.
instruction, yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know that there's been additional guidance. I'm not aware of anything additional that's come out.
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And do we think the textbooks have caught up? Because that was the other piece, right? Why we slowed down last year is we weren't sure the textbooks had caught up with what the new requirements were gonna be.
That's a good question. So, yeah, we can take a few different routes on that. So that's what the teacher teams are working on this year. So they're piloting an open source curriculum, but you have a pretty savvy high school math department. That, yeah, they're pretty great. But they really wanted to go slow and go fast on this. And so their choice to go slow and see one, if it's catching up, and also to see how this rolls out with even our neighboring districts. It's always nice to see what's happening with our neighbors too. I think that was a wise decision on their part, but they're taking this very seriously, and I trust that will happen. I haven't met with that team yet to see where they are this fall, but I know that's gonna happen as we get started. We're just all getting our bearings, so more to come on that, Candace.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's a good
I
question.
do think that's one thing I want us to talk more about is curriculum. I mean, because we hadn't adopted that one in so long, it just felt like we hadn't talked about it a lot. And I think that was one of our main responsibility is to ensure we have adopted curriculum.
And that it's gonna, like, I like the conversation of it as being set up for 15 years or 10 years or whatever. I just looking to the future and how things are like adapting and making sure that what we're selecting is gonna benefit students, 10 years down the line. It's not like just checking a box for now. As much as I think if 22 is great and all the standards are great, I just, doing our due diligence is so important, and you guys seem to be doing a great job. I think you guys are doing an amazing.
It's a really thorough process. I will say there's no guarantee that during that duration of time that things won't change. I mean, things do change. A lot of the materials though we get annually, so like a workbook that may come with our math program. Our vendors have talked about how, yes, we put our order in, but then there might be some minor edits that are made within those annually, so we will have those. And then there's also the electronic components, so the computer component, which they can quickly adjust as perhaps needs change. I don't know that that's gonna happen, but they're also ready for that too, based on how they sell those programs.
I think it's just that we're not piecemealing things together.
Yes, we
That's-
all agree.
And I remember seeing that, so yeah.
Yes, everyone loves traffic, yeah, and thank you.
That was a lot of good information. All right. Maybe move on to OSBA board roles and responsibilities change.
The staff evaluation.
Oh, what's I skipped one? Staff evaluation system, that's what I meant.
So one of those Division 22 standards has to do with staff evaluation, license and administrator evaluation as well as classified. And so I've included in your packet here two systems. One is the ODE system, which is guidance for what all districts are to align to with your evaluation system. And then you have the Creswell evaluation system for licensed employees. And we had a little bit of a check out of the evaluation system during COVID for 2 years there. We checked back in right away when we started going in person to the evaluation system. And especially with our goals and getting goals in line. But we've been in a full evaluation system since last year. And it was required by ODE to move there, but and our evaluation system aligns to the Division 22 standards, the law and TSPC standards, as well as the guidance from ODE, the guiding system from ODE. So, in summary, we have, with our licensed staff, we have probationary teachers. And for 3 years, they go through formal evaluation processes with formal observations, pre and post lesson meetings with the administrator or their evaluator, and mid-year goals check-in, and where they're at with their performance on the performance standards, and then the summative evaluation at the end of the year. Each of those observations that an evaluator makes of a probationary employee includes a conference. So the conference is the feedback conference on how things are going, what the administrator or evaluator observes or what needs to be improved. And so it's a plan of improvement all the way through. It's a growth plan. That's what it's set up to be. And it's a collaborative one. And that's what it should be. So between administrator and staff, it's a collaborative one. And sometimes after that probationary period, there continues to be the need for support. So we might have to set up a support plan that the teacher then will be focused on specific standards along with the administrator until the improvements are made. If for some reason those improvements don't get up to par over and over, maybe it's the willingness to teach the Common Core standards or the state standards or comply with whatever policies and laws there are for instruction and teaching, then we have to go a different route. For our permanent teachers, or what's called contract teachers, that's post probationary, so we're with us for 4 years. And they're evaluated formally every other year. So they're on a 2-year cycle. So year one, we'll say, is informal, so they're gonna be going through a goals conference with their administrator and then talking in the mid-year and beyond, and the end of the year on how things went with their student growth goals. If there's an issue that needs to be addressed, an administrator thinks that there needs to be some formal observations in the classroom, that can be set up in the goals conference. The teacher can also ask the administrator to formally observe their classroom and go through that process too. So that's on the goals only or stage one, year one, phase one, whatever you want to call it on a contract teacher. On year two is formal, so they have two formal observations that have to do with pre-planning conference, post-planning, or post-lesson observation conferences. And they go through the goals, mid-year goals, and then the end year summative of the whole evaluation for the year. And that's how it works. That's our system. And our system is aligned to what's required by the state. And there's been lifted, a lot of it is lifted right off of the state guidance.
It's similar to other districts, correct?
Districts, that's the minimum have to do with, is provided by the guidance from ODE, because that's in align to the law.
Question.
Mhm.
I was gonna question, I don't feel bad about that, so everyone knows. So the term evaluator is used pretty significantly. It doesn't necessarily say administrator and educator, it says evaluator, and educator, right? Awesome. Is there other districts, and is there any data that shows it's effective or not effective to have your evaluator not always be a building administrator, but maybe someone like a master teacher or other content expert? I'm not saying we should do that. I'm interested in, that's something anyone's talked about.
It's not legal. You have to have an administrative license to evaluate a licensed teacher or a licensed staff member.
Will you send me where the, I mean, I believe you, that's not how I read it, so I'm interested in it.
Yeah, evaluators, they use the term evaluator, but they're talking about administrator. Throughout.
In the state of Oregon, that's the legal definition. Okay.
But another teacher evaluating another teacher, that's not even okay within the.
Well, not a teacher, math, so there are other districts that do this, so I just wanna be careful, because there are other content experts that don't necessarily have to be a teacher, and if I use the wrong term, that's my fault, because I'm not an educator.
You can have a coach,
Mhm.
that's maybe a math expert,
Yeah,
but they give input into the evaluation, but the administrator is always the evaluator. That's the supervisor of the employee. So that's who.
and I asked that question, I'm gonna be honest, because there's a difference to get feedback from your boss all the time than there is from someone that you think is a educational expert, or has a lot of classroom experience. Maybe I'll put it that way. And that's not a dig at anyone in particular, that's a much bigger conversation. And so I was just interested in other professions, we do that all the time. We get feedback from people who do our job or have done our job for many, many years.
Mhm.
So, but if you were telling me it's not legal.
TOSA's teachers on special assignment for districts that are experts or
Yeah.
consider that in the subject area, math, ELA, or science, or PE or health, or what have you. They are there as in a coaching position or capacity, and they can coach and give input, but the building administrator is the one that legally
Gives the final.
gives the evaluation.
Okay, thank you. Those weren't pointed questions, those are just questions to help me understand the process. Considering this is what I do for a living in other industries, and so I always find education to be interesting.
I was an instructional coach before becoming an administrator.
Yeah.
And so there's a difference between feedback and evaluation. So as a coach, I would go in and do observations. I would work alongside with the teacher to find out what they're wanting to work on, what are their goals. And then provide them with feedback based on what they're soliciting from.
Yeah.
And that was a very meaningful process for a teacher, because it was non-threatening, I'm not their evaluator. So it's just different. You can get feedback from other people in terms of evaluation.
We
Well,
got-
we don't have a feedback loop like that here. Or do we? And I just am not aware
We do have, if a teacher wants a mentor teacher, we do
of it.
set up mentor teachers for them. We have a couple right now that have mentor teachers on staff. And that we don't have that, that's something we're more than willing to do. Actually, if we see that a teacher needs some assistance, we'll bring that in as a support, a level of support for them. Which mentor teacher, who would you see as a mentor, and see if we can agree that's your mentor, okay, I think that's good model for you, and we make the arrangements for it. So, yeah.
Do you have something to add, Amy?
Well, at Creswell, we have two individuals, one is our behavior interventionist and one is our academic interventionist. And they are there to support all of our tier 2 students, but one of their jobs is they are pushing in and supporting the teachers and the grade levels with either their content or with their classroom systems. So it is a peer that is providing them with that support. So if a teacher is struggling with, let's say a group of students behaviorally, they will call upon this other peer to come and help support them, either by doing observations or helping them with systems and what exactly what you're describing. And the same for on the academic side. So then it's not them coming to me saying, like failure, I can't do this, which might feel threatening to them. They're getting support from somebody that's on the same level. Thank you.
Can I ask a question, but just a clarification, none of that is reflected in that evaluation process, though? None of the interactions with the peers are?
No.
Thank you.
Anything else? On the evaluation system? Advice? All right, moving on to the correct time now, OSB, board roles and responsibilities training.
So, I don't know if we've done this annually, we've done it a couple times where we've had OSBA come in to conduct a board, training on roles and responsibilities, for the board. I participate too as the superintendent. And, it's probably with half a new board, good time to do something like that.
I think the last time we did it, maybe it was Zoom. We don't, I think we did it last summer in the library, didn't we? Was it last summer? Oh, we did do something last summer in the library, but I don't think that was it.
Then did,
Then we did
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I don't remember if it was last summer. I feel like it was hot in there.
I do remember doing it over there. Yeah,
But it was good. I
I
actually
think
thought
it's
it was
really good. I think it would be great for you guys, because it's just helps us stay in our lane a little bit and know what our responsibilities are and our relationship with the superintendent is supposed to look like, and I think it's a good thing. Do we know who would do that for us?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would recommend that Steve Kelly. He's the one that helped us
Yeah,
with Find Mike.
Yeah.
And that guy is very, very good at what he does. And Vince did fine when he was here, but
yeah,
Steve really likes Creswell and he's very, what's the word, not frank, but he's very upfront about what we should and shouldn't be doing. And he's, I think, a great instructor. I'd like to see him come back for a night. I don't know, you have a dinner and a thing or
and
whatever.
typically we meet at on a different Wednesday of the month at
Yeah.
we do it 6, we do it at 6 o'clock, and then we have dinner and we go through the training, so. We can reach out to him and see what his schedule looks like and bring it back to us and figure out if it'll work for all of us.
I attended his presentation, last year at the, I don't know if it was this one or the other conference. Pretty sure it was in Salem. Didn't they move the November conference to Salem last year? Is that where it
Yes,
was
it
at?
was.
I think so.
They did this
And
one.
then nobody liked it, so they moved it back to Portland,
Yeah.
but anyway, I attended his presentation and they are really launching their, strategic planning, process with school boards and superintendents, so it would be really cool to have a kind of a check-in with him on where we're at with our our strategic plan and the process, and I mean, there was a lot of crossover in what I saw and what we were doing, what we've been doing, so.
Vince did something slightly different than Steve, right? We did a board survey
It was a board
first.
thing. I was like,
Right?
Oh, evaluate
Yeah.
the,
Yeah.
yes, it was the
We
board
did
evaluation.
evaluation stuff, which I really liked. I mean, I like Steve, I'm sure Steve does it too.
Yeah, it was a different training though. We weren't doing the board rules and
Right.
responsibilities. We did the, self-evaluation, or self-evaluation training with it.
Yeah.
I don't really think that we've done this one, so I feel like we have to do it. I feel like, I think I was on COVID. I think I was COVID during them. I can't actually remember, so.
so between Debbie and I will work on.
Yeah.
And see.
Yep, and then we'll get
See
some
what
dates
we're-
and throw them out at us, because I know everybody's really busy, but we can get it on the calendar sooner than that later.
I'm not saying we should do lots of things, but I wouldn't mind doing the board,
Work session.
work sessions again. I think I've probably said before, but also the evaluation. I thought the evaluation was very insightful, especially the new board. So I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, so maybe we can have a couple working
Yeah.
meetings coming up. Keep you guys all busy. Not that you're already. All right. Next item, on oversight committee meeting minutes.
Oh, I just,
Just put those out there for us to
for
read.
you all to know where we're at. We're covering a lot of ground with the bond oversight committee as far as laws, policies, and procedures go, and what we're focused on as far as our bond funds, our bond promise, and following through with those and matching them up. And it's a really good committee. They're very insightful on what's happening around those laws and policies around construction and bonds. So, anyway, so yeah, a lot of legal stuff, a lot of procedural stuff to get them started, and updates about where we're at, the updates that you've seen, what they've seen.
Yeah, I've heard very positive feedback from people that are on the committee. They liked it a lot, so. All right, CEA intent to bargain.
Just, information for you, because you are the team that approves the contract once we get there, but we will be going into bargaining. They have notified me that they intend to bargain a successor agreement this spring, which, you know, is expected because it was a 2-year agreement, so we will need a labor management committee engaged in this process. However, they have indicated that they're not going to have 8, 9 members. Last time they had a 9-member group or team, so that we brought in equal number of members. And so, they've indicated to me that they'll have around 5. So we'll see, they'll give me the names of the people that they're gonna have on their committee, and then we'll work it from there.
All right.
Is this another committee board? Do you have enough people on your, what is it called?
Labor Management Committee, no, I am looking for one more on that committee. And then on the policy committee, I'm looking for 2 more. Or, well, Mary's on the policy.
I emailed you.
Oh.
Amazing how quickly that.
I'm looking for one and one.
Policy committee is the funnest committee, just FYI.
That's where all the party people are, I guess.
Mhm.
Maybe I should change my.
And I can't feel.
So there's that.
I know you really want to,
Zero.
really want to.
Zero.
Everybody wants to.
I find this quick. Okay, all right, now we're on to reports, trustee reports want to start us out, Mike?
Yeah, I can. Did the change on a football game the other night, which was really fun because that was the most professionally ran crew from coaches from the other side I've ever seen in the school. They were great coaches.
Great.
And nobody was yelling. It was really fun. Then I went to a volleyball game, and then there was a lady SD meeting I went to. That's about it.
All right, awesome. Aaron.
So I've been to a few football games, and I went to a boys soccer game. And I went to the volleyball game, was it Monday, this Wednesday? And they honored Bree Daycron, and I was not prepared for that. That was tough. There was not, I don't think, a dry eye in the room. But yeah, that was pretty emotional, but kind of cool to see. And I was at the ribbon cutting, and I did all of, the classes that I'm supposed to do at Joel Trinity for the vector thing. And we did those. So I got one this month.
Cool start.
Thank you.
I've also completed my vector training.
Cool start.
Yeah. There's a deadline.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it gives you a countdown, it's like 10 days. 9 days.
Come on now.
Yeah.
And I spend every waking moment at a football field, whether it's the game I'm missing right now, or traveling to Florence or wherever they're playing. The ribbon cutting was amazing, and I've also had a few minutes of a soccer game, waiting for a football player to be out of the locker room.
I too did, the vector training and, I attended the, ribbon cutting.
Me, I did my vector training last month.
Oh my
just
gosh,
last week.
I have not done my vector training, I feel like it's just, okay.
Oh,
No
so
pressure.
Going home tonight, doing my vector training.
I have also been to a handful of football games. I sat with both of these ladies at one point at the Sunday Slaw game, so.
On the Creswell side,
I did sit on the Creswell side, yeah. And, some volleyball games. I've made it to a couple soccer games, but I've mostly watched them on NH, whatever that's called. Yes, I've mostly watched them there. And we had a leadership meeting last week. And I will be honest, I would really like to go to a band event. But I can't remember which days they are, so I need to look those up.
I thought it was really nice to have the band back at the football games. We've
They
missed
were
having fun.
so good.
They were so
That was the first
I was
time.
really worried, like, I didn't know if we had a band program anymore or what happened, because we hadn't seen them at any of the football games until this last week.
Yes, they did.
It was nice.
And I will have interesting update next month, because I have signed up to chaperone homecoming, so, I will give you an update next month.
Now that is, yeah, I am not going to do that. Never gets to me, there's all the things, no. I went to a couple of football games, I've been to 2 girls soccer games, last night they beat Pleasant Hill, it was really exciting, and it was a torrential downpour, like the wettest wet. Those girls were like, yeah, but they were amazing, that was fun to watch. Leadership meeting, ribbon cutting, I did go to the every 15 minutes presentation that they did at the high school, amazing, they did a really great job, it was a good experience. But I have not done my vector training and I will be working on that tonight. That's me. That's all I have. So, I'm not sure what board goals on the agenda.
Did they just, they requested that they be there for the bowler in case everyone wanted to take a look at them?
Okay, all right. So,
Can I ask a question?
you can.
So, majority of us have been vector trainings, but I know that Tim had mentioned that he done some additional trainings, like
Oh, yeah.
I think I had asked you about them, and I feel like maybe you're the better person to ask. Cause I didn't know what I was talking about.
I did too know what you're talking about. I
Where do
done
I
the
find,
bronze.
where do I find these additional trainings?
The OSBA, like bronze,
Yes, that's my name.
you would need to, register yourself with the, Oregon School Boards Association, get on their website, and bronze can be
Did
done.
you not get an invitation? I feel like I got an invitation when I got on the board.
No, I have an OSBA login, I just don't know what I'm supposed to do.
You just have to go to the educational portion on there, there's up at the top.
After you do bronze, Tim, do you have to do them in person?
No.
No, not anymore.
Oh.
I did them all in person before the internet,
Yeah,
and,
as a whole, the internet as a whole.
well, they were doing bronze and silver.
I'll give that a couple.
So I think about all you can do now at the conferences are
Platinum. And there's platinum too, isn't there?
There is platinum, but that requires a trip to Salem.
Oh, is this where you're?
Yes.
All right. Okay, there's nothing else. Okay, all right. Next meeting is November 8th. And we'll adjourn our meeting tonight.